Hey everyone, we're back with another MacBook Pro gaming video, and this time we're taking a look at Prey. This game was just released a little over a week ago, so it's pretty much brand new. So let's take a look at the settings that I'm using here. I'm running it at 720p, and I'm running on the low preset. So a little later on I'll show you how it performs at a higher preset, but for now we're just going to start with low. You can see all the settings here. Now, I haven't gone much beyond the first few minutes of the game. I've probably played about an hour in total, so the footage you're seeing here won't really have any spoilers in it. But if you're worried about spoilers at all, then you can always check my website. I'll put a link in the description, and I can give a rundown there of how the game performs. So what we're seeing here is somewhere in the high 20s and low 30s on average, but you can see the frame rate spikes up pretty fast once we get into an area with a lot less going on. So that area we were just in, where it was in the high 20s, was actually looking outside, so it had a lot more to render. What you're going to see in this video is a pretty jumpy frame rate. It's hardly ever going to drop below 30, which is great. It makes the game completely playable on this computer, but sometimes it goes up, as high as 60, and then there's other times it does drop down to that high 20s area, and it's really hard to explain why it does that. It might just be optimization. I am playing with VSync on as well, so there's some areas that would probably actually go above 60, but the VSync is holding it back. So there's not much going on at the start of the game. There's not really any action scenes. So I'm going to skip ahead a few minutes to a fight with an enemy, and you can see how the frame rate holds up for that sequence. So not really any change there at all. We stayed almost at 60 frames per second. Now it is a fight in a small enclosed area, but it's pretty much the same. The enemies on screen really don't affect the frame rate much, which is good. Now I'm just going to head back to the area where we started the game, and I'm going to change the preset on the graphics settings up to medium. So if you remember the very start, at this area we were getting, high 20s to low 30s, and you can kind of see that here. It was about 34 when we paused it. So we'll apply the medium preset, let it take effect, and once we jump back into the game, you can see our frame rate's really only dropped by a couple frames, if even. It's almost exactly the same. Now the one thing you'll notice is that once we get into these enclosed areas, it's a bit more stable. We're not seeing it go up into the high 50s and 60s quite as often, but we're also not seeing it drop back down much below the high 20s. Now, having only played this for an hour, I can't say I've experienced, all the areas that the game has to offer, but at this point, I'm going to say that this game is probably going to be completely playable on medium settings on the Iris 550, so you should be able to enjoy it and have it look fairly nice on the 2016 MacBook Pro with Touchbar. As for the game itself, it seems pretty neat. At this point, it doesn't really seem to have anything to do with the original Prey that was released about 10 years ago, but it still has its own unique story, and the gameplay feels pretty good. It kind of reminds me of Dishonored. I think it's actually by the same developer, so that sort of makes sense. But yeah, if you have a 2016 MacBook Pro with Touch Bar, or pretty much any computer with an Iris 540 or 550 graphics card, you should really be able to play this game with no problem at all at 720p. So kudos to the developers for making a game that looks really good and performs quite well on lower end hardware like this. So I'll leave you with a couple minutes of gameplay just so you can kind of get another look at it. But other than that, yeah, Prey running at 720p at medium settings, totally playable on the 2016 MacBook Pro. Thanks for watching.